Good morning, and welcome to another episode of EA James, where I am all about games. Today, it's very chilly outside. And you know what really lights up my soul? What really sets a fire in my stomach? I'm talking about a big ol' adventure game. Or today, maybe a pocket-sized adventure game. Today we're talking about The Legend of Zelda, A Link's Awakening for Nintendo Switch. Let's dive in. Link's Awakening was originally a cute and charming game on the Game Boy. It then was updated to a game known as Link's Awakening DX for the Game Boy Color, with new features such as a new color dungeon, a vast array of new colors to give a better atmosphere, and just overall better experience. However, several people had many gripes with this game, even though it was beloved and everyone enjoyed their time in it. There were several technical limitations due to the hardware it was on. The Game Boy and Game Boy Color respectively only had two main action buttons, the A and B button, for which you could use things. And so, every single item in the game, even your shield or sword, had to be mapped to one of these buttons at a respective time. That meant you had to constantly swap back and forth between your inventory, doing this several times in some dungeons, leading to a lot of frustration in the amount of padded time it felt that you had to do this. The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake for Nintendo Switch, however, has updated this tremendously. You now have your sword and shield mapped to a regular button that never has to be mapped for an item. That means that you are completely versatile with these at all times once gaining them. Now, the Link's Awakening remake has several features that I really enjoy. First of all is the addictive and overall charming experience that you get just from walking into the island village. You start off the game in a sea, frothy and violent. A clash of lightning strikes and exposes you, and then a giant wave tosses. The next thing you know, Link awakens on an island, Koholint Island, where he must awaken the Windfish. An owl appears who guides you, and a fantastic young girl who will become a partner of yours and childhood friend, Marin, possible love interest even, are there to guide your way. You awaken into the village, and you receive your shield from Terran. And yes, I know, he does look a lot like Mario. Zelda and Mario have a tendency of doing this, giving small cameos to each other in this game. And this game does it in full stock. Because as you'll quickly find out, as one of the most frustrating and yet addicting portions of the game, the crane game is available straight in the village, with realistic crane physics. This may or may not be for everyone, but you can easily spend several minutes to hours in this mode, getting all of the different collectibles and figures from the Mario series, and put them into each other's houses for a little bit of posterity along your way. Everyone is just so charming, and the almost Lego block, plastic aesthetic makes it feel like you're playing with childhood toys as you romp around through the village. Now, there also is going to be the subject of the frame rate. Yes, for some reason, and it's not due to the game itself, the Nintendo Switch doesn't process certain areas very well for the game. And so, although normally it runs at a beautiful 60 frames per second, it will occasionally jitter and stutter as you go from location to location on the map. It will quickly right itself, but especially when there's a lot of enemies, or a large patch of grass, or you're doing a very involved item such as running, it seems to stutter down to 30 to 20 frames occasionally, and even more so, it's very visible in the last two dungeons of the game when there's a lot going on, which for some people can be very annoying because you're trying to be in the action and get everything done, and it doesn't always work out that way. However, That is the only gripe for this beautiful game. Well, unless you want to be technical and say that the music when you get the Power Shard and the Guardian Acorn isn't as loud and vibrant as before, but the music mixing and the overall aesthetic create such a fantastic remake that I wouldn't have it any other way. This game, if it's your first route through, could take you 10, maybe 15 hours. However, there is a new addition to the game. Instead of those charming printable pictures, or just pictures you could have in your save file, there is Dompe's house, where you now have the Dungeon Maker. And although this sounds fantastic in execution, it's really not when you get into it. Mainly because the dungeons you can only build off of dungeons you've been in, and there are only a few specific special rooms you can create that don't add anything to puzzle solving. They just allow you to have more rupees or more chests, but there's no special bosses, no special room gimmicks. So Mario Maker this is not. A good first attempt, yes, but not exactly. As you go through this game, you'll notice two major aspects that you will be trying to attend. First off is trying to get the 8 instruments to awaken the Windfish. Each dungeon allots you a heart container and an instrument. And these instruments will play out the ballad of the Windfish, which you hear as early as the first village with Marin singing it. The other thing you'll notice is there is a very large fetch quest you begin from the very start of the game. As you go along this fetch quest, you can actually get one of the best items in the game, the boomerang. And the boomerang is very helpful in hitting puzzles, in knocking switches, and even destroying some enemies, no problem. I also love all of the little details they've given to all of the characters. All the new animations and the new vibrancy and sounds they have to really bring them to life in this area, to really feel like this adventure is your own. If you haven't given the Link's Awakening Switch a try yet, please do so. Although, I would recommend waiting for a price drop. $60 for this game may seem a little high for some people, but around $30 to $25 I would highly recommend. Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening is a bomb of childhood nostalgia and everything you're looking for in a handheld title. If you have any thoughts, please leave them in the comments below. And please subscribe and hit that bell for future notifications. It helps me out a lot and lets me know what you're thinking. And without further ado, I hope you all have a fantastic evening and take care.